Welcome back, guys. Thanks for being here with the channel again. Welcome to the dark side, Aggies. Welcome. Thanks for being here with the Longhorn. We're going to talk a little bit about your game. Big win over the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Can't call it anything other than what it is, a very big win for the Longhorns out there. Like, why the hell is Ghost talking about the Aggies? Well, I mean, what A&M does, what Oklahoma does, and others for that matter. I mean, it definitely has an impact on the Longhorns. And yeah, we were late. But I'll show you why we were late in just a little bit. I did add a clip to the show tonight that I think Aggies will appreciate, taking that extra 2 minutes to do so. Probably should have done it before, been on time. But it is what it is. Thanks for being here, Ags. And anybody else that's just curious to hear what I have to say about Elko and the Aggies winning against Freeman's Irish. First things first, man. I mean, I've said a few things about it on the timeline before, but I mean, you look at this Aggie team, immediately, from last year to this year, the noticeable differences are Marcel can make, he can take shots down the field and can hit some of them. Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, they're a lot damn faster than you were at wide receivers. It's not a troll. It's not a troll. I've always talked about you guys. It's just not as fun now for me and my side because y'all have won a big game. All right. So not a troll. It's we troll on the Twitter timeline. But again, for those that don't know, I am the ghost dude on Twitter, 40 Acre Vibes, you Aggies. I'm either loved or hated, but either way, if you're watching, thanks. So Marcel Reed, these wide receivers are the very big noticeable difference. You look at the A&M team last year, lacked playmaking, lacked explosiveness. And now what do you have early on in the season? You've got several big completions. You have several big completions for touchdowns. You've broken off chunks in the run game. You've broken off chunks in the screen game. A&M looks a lot more explosive. You'd expect to jump, right? Year two, Colin Klein. A lot of people are very high on Colin Klein as an offensive coordinator. Early on, man, I mean, he cooked the hell out of Chris Ash at Notre Dame. And so one thing I will say before we get too much into it, A&M had a big win, quite clear. Notre Dame is going to have some defensive issues this year. Chris Ash, if you're not familiar with the name, he has had issues. I've seen him have issues with the guys in Burn Orange before. Marcus Freeman is a damn good defensive mind. Maybe they work some of them out. Leonard Moore is a terrific corner on one side. You saw he handled Casey pretty well for the most part. Casey got them on one big snap there, like 41-yard completion. But overall, man, this isn't a Notre Dame defense or secondary that is quite as potent as it was last year yet. All right, and you can't take anything away from A&M. You can't take anything. A&M went in there, made the plays they needed to make. They started down a touchdown due to special teams, before the game even really gets going. And so that is a super impressive thing, you have to bring up. A&M down 2 scores at one point, multiple points, and then they fought. And this is an A&M team that you saw get down to Auburn last year by 3 scores early. And, looking at that lineup, that roster last year, weren't really built to play from behind. They didn't, in my opinion, have the ability to chase points. That's not the way that Colin Klein wanted games to go. It happened. But hey, man, Marcel Reed fought back in that game, fought back in this game. So you're seeing a trend line at this point, right? You're seeing Marcel really seems to be comfortable. Them taking shots down on field. Hey, man, sorry about that. I had to get sorry. Wait, where's not that I'm taking away from your comment, Caden, but I had to give Jax's comment up here. You know what I mean? I feel like it means less, Jax, if it's you and me, or if it's Avery and me, or Trey and me, or anybody, and any other Aggie. This is from the heart. All right, this is from the heart. So Marcel, he has indeed taken a step, and that was my number one overall question mark about Texas A&M coming into the season, because you have the skill position guys to pick up yards. You have the skill position guys to move the football. Can you consistently score in the red zone? They're doing that. I'm envious. The way that the Aggies have made offense look through 3 weeks. I will just say that. Very, very impressed by Marcel Reed. Is he perfect? No. Do I expect him to be perfect down the line? No. Do I expect him to win a Heisman Trophy? No. All right, but considering where he was last year and where he's at now through 3 weeks of year two, Aggies have damn good reason to be, to feel the way that they do. They've been bumping gums a little bit here the last 48 hours, and I totally get it. We'll probably be doing the same. Thank you for being here, Callum, my guy. It really does mean a lot to see some of you Aggies that I know y'all have plenty of A&M content to go out there and follow, listen to. Appreciate y'all being here for a little while. Let me get this off my chest. But yeah, Colin Klein did call a hell of a game. He bodied Chris Ash badly. Shout out to Colin Klein for dipping into some Steve Sarkisian there and taking the Ezekiel's will concept. That was what A&M ran on the long touchdown to Mario Craver. You put the curl defender there in a ton of conflict. If y'all go back, watch the replay, you have the defender who is coming down towards the line of scrimmage because he sees Marcel Reed and who is sneaking out behind him. Mario Craver is a staple of Steve Sarkisian's offense for the last couple of years, but you've seen a lot of teams adjust to it. Notre Dame hadn't seen it from Texas A&M, and Texas A&M made them pay the max price. So I did like to see that. Shout out Colin Klein for that one. We got a Sooner in here, guys. He's ready. Putting A&M and Oklahoma in my top 5 today, it didn't hurt, but it didn't feel good, if that makes sense. You got to call it how it is, man. So we got Sooners and Aggies in here. Appreciate y'all being here. And I will say this, man, when I went back and rewatched the game today, the first time I've seen the game in its entirety, I think I watched the last 3 full quarters on Saturday. A&M left a lot of points on the board. They really, really did. And as much as Notre Dame fans want to cry and whine and talk about a holding call it was a holding call that didn't get called. There was some phantom calls, in my opinion, on both sides here. I don't think that the holding on the kickoff return by Bussey was a holding. But again, that's probably the best case scenario for A&M considering things played out the way that it did. So at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure you're not complaining, but a lot of people in green and gold sure are. And so I respect the Fighting Irish. I love Marcus Freeman, but I think the college football world as a whole, can get behind some Irish tears. And that's not a slight at the a slight at the Irish. I love the fight song, love the brand, love a lot of things that they do. But again, being an independent school, always seeming to get the benefit of the doubt. I don't think anybody was really, really upset by what happened Saturday night at South Bend. But let's talk about this. A lot of people, just naturally assumed Notre Dame coming off a loss to Miami, Notre Dame coming off a bye week. They must win this game. This is, you have to win. Yeah, if you're Notre Dame, you needed very badly to win that game. Schedule is not crazy going forward for them, but they're not going to have an opportunity to pick up any big wins. Will Brand get them in if they go 10-2 or 9-3? You can't rule it out. But the fact that A&M went in there after a bye week and after Notre Dame coming off an early season loss, knowing that you're going to get full focus from Marcus Freeman's group. You're going to get about as good as an effort as they have as far as in, an energy level wise, physicality wise. And so for that, for A&M to get in there and fight back in that second quarter, I think the score before half was really big. But to get back in that game, in that second quarter when things kind of could have gotten sideways, and all of a sudden you let that Notre Dame crowd kind of take over, which credit to the Aggies. They did, in my opinion, travel over there with at least 25, 30,000 people. But when, again, we knew A&M travels well, not a surprise. But, I think that's a big testament to the culture that Mike Elko is establishing. All right. And last year, you saw times where, in my opinion, it looked like the Jimbo culture. And for you Aggies out there, man, I'm y'all know this. I'm very, very high on Mike Elko as just being the guy as a football coach. He gets football. I think he understands, the whole Aggie land thing. But most importantly, man, I love how he calls games. I love the energy that his defenses play with. And I think he's the guy to fix your culture. That is a culture type of W. To go rally back from a very early special teams blunder, to rally back multiple scores down, to rally back down a score very late in that game, have to go the length of the field. So, I mean, do I like it? Hell no, I don't. It stinks. I would much rather get on here and talk about A&M and have to have some Aggie on who just defends, another non-conference loss to Notre Dame or another silly conference loss. That right now, it's not the case. And so again, if you're a Texas fan, you're listening to this, we're going to continue to talk about A&M. We'll talk about Texas. We'll talk about everybody again, because it all ties together somewhat. A&M, Coach Elko, Does this win mean down the line, that they are a contender in the SEC conference, that they are a legitimate playoff threat? I still don't think the answer to that. I think that A&M is going to be like similar to Texas on the offensive side of the ball, just not near as severe. A&M has a lot to work on the defensive side of the ball. I think it was really big that you had not a standout performance from Hicks, but I think that showing the ability, the development, the depth on the defensive line, that to me, is the biggest question mark on the defensive side. I made the prediction that I think this particular defensive line will end up being better than last year's. And man, I'm really hoping that's not true now, because if y'all do have a front seven that I think you have by season's end, mixed with this offense, and you can continue to work things in the secondary, that'd be a pretty formidable opponent. To be honest, you got to call it how it is. The line for A&M is pretty dang stout, but defensively, that's Mike Elko's side of the ball. So for us on my side that sit here and think, hey man, they've given up some points, they've given up some yards, you know, they're gonna get better. You know what I mean? And I'm just making the comparison. Same thing I tell Texas fans. Sark's side of the ball should get better. I know that Elko's side of the ball will get better. I thought they played with a lot more energy. I thought they had a better, you could tell the culture on defense a little more established. Dudes just fighting hard. Like they wanted the ever living hell out of the game. And so, part of me hated to see it. I did pick A&M to win this game. For the reason that I didn't think Notre Dame, in my opinion, could take advantage of, where A&M maybe was a little susceptible on the defensive side of the ball. But most importantly, I don't love I don't love this early in the year with Notre Dame replacing what they did on defense and A&M returning everything that they returned on offense, plus adding Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, plus having a more developed tight end room. That's why I picked A&M to win this game. I didn't think it'd be quite that high scoring. But again, that's, big credit to Marcel Reed, big credit to Colin Klein. You go 17 for 37. That doesn't look super sexy in a box score. You hear that, you see that, and you're like, okay. Well, hey, man, when you talk about them 17 completions going for 360 yards, you're maximizing your potential to score the football there. Notre Dame still has obviously a good defense. It's still probably one of the top 4 or 5 defenses that A&M will play this year. Okay, they're still good players there, no matter how I feel about their defensive coordinator. That they deserve credit for it. They ran the ball just well enough to keep Notre Dame pretty honest. And then most importantly, when they got in the red zone, they were able to pick up the tough yards. Le'Veon Moss with 3 touchdowns. That guy is, he brings a different element to the short game. Those short down and distances where you really got to be tough. Obviously a lot of talk about between Texas and Texas A&M fans over the last year by what happened in November and what happens if Le'Veon Moss is on the field. None of that matters. But right now, Le'Veon Moss is healthy. He looks good, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, he's explosive. It is what it is. I will say this. I was pretty pissed about the Le'Veon Moss touchdown in the second quarter. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all in on a little secret. I woke up Saturday morning and I was just like, I want to do something dumb. And so I did, I cooked up one of the 6-leg parlays that had 6 different touchdown scores. Okay. 6 different touchdown scores. We nailed the first 5. Joey Aguilar was on there. Isaiah Horton from Bama was on there. Cade Klubnik was on there. We went 5 for 5. And I knew I was going to take someone from A&M because I liked A&M to score the ball 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. It's like, just get the right guy. Obviously, they scored more than that. I went with Theo, the Swede. I took the Swede, and he would have been my 6th guy. Well, there's a play there at the end of the second quarter where Theo is just wide open in the corner of the end zone. Marcel just doesn't see him. Ends up, I believe, tucking and running. And I mean, but he is wide open. So then I think the very next play the play after is when Le'Veon scored his 2nd touchdown. I was pretty salty. I was mad. I was chirping to the Aggie wife for a little while about that one. But that's the thing, man. He seems like it has a like Marcel Reed, Craver, Concepcion have a really good rapport. I mean, you can't fake that. It seems pretty natural. And again, Leonard Moore for Notre Dame is a damn good corner. He is he will play for a decade on Sundays. So when you look at the targets at KC, 11 targets, I think only 4 catches. I don't think that's an issue at all. I think that sometimes you got to tip your cap and say, hey, that dude on the other side made it damn hard. And it is what it is. That's more of the way that I think about KC in this game. Do I think Mario Craver is like going to have 200 yards every week and going to be the true number one wide receiver in the offense? I can't guarantee that. I do like Craver's explosiveness. I think he's more of your home run hitter. But again, it's going to be, dependent upon matchups and what Klein thinks is, works best for the Aggies. Either way, you're getting both of those guys double-digit targets. A&M, they definitely hit home runs in the wide receiver portal. Call it how it is. So a much more explosive offense with an experienced offensive line, and then you have a very proven head coach on the defensive side of the ball, who, yes, his unit struggled last year. They lacked depth. They weren't able to, and again, I think culture was a part of it last year. Couldn't stop anything in November. Call it how it is. Didn't matter if it was by land or by air. Gave up a lot. Now, one thing though is that Mike Elko calls the hell out of games, guys, and he can prepare very, very well. Notre Dame had a punt block for a touchdown. That, having that, and I feel like another score that was gifted to him. A&M had the ability in that game to hold Notre Dame under 30 points, outside of the funky start. The way that game played out, I don't think is a true testament to how good of a job A&M did on the defensive side. I think they did a really good job with Jeremiah Love. I hate Notre Dame's play call on 4th and 1 there around midfield in the third quarter. I think that play flipped that game on its head. I really didn't understand that. The Wildcat, Jeremiah Love running off tackle left side. Just give me the ball with the quarterback in your hands and him having the ability to run pass. Even if you run a true run concept there, the defense still sees a quarterback in the back of their mind. They know there is the possibility that, hey, they may run play action here. Hey, maybe he keeps the ball. It just makes them think a little bit more. So I think that was by Denbrock. I didn't love that from him in that moment. Again, I think he's a pretty good coordinator as a whole. Let's see here. Thoughts on what some are calling the fatty report silly that Nate and Theo hit after the game. As somebody that's been around fatty reporter a time or two, I've definitely seen a couple of those same type motions from that gentleman's arms. I'll let y'all run with that as much as y'all want to. But that's a big difference right there, man. You have the separation, you have the speed at wide receiver, very twitchy, very quick, not super big. But hey, sometimes that works out really well for you. Does A&M have a true possession type wide receiver? I'm not sure. I think Casey more than Mario in that instant, but I think that you have enough between the backs and the tight end room. You want to throw that thing around, and I think Klein will. You know what I mean? You'll continue. I'm not here. I don't want to boost, man. I'm not here to make fun of a kid, but I told a few of y'all need to chill on the Amari Niblack hype. I told a few of you. Okay, this is pretty familiar with that young man. Maybe it works out for him. But when I've got Aggies telling me that he was going to be a big part of the game on Saturday and then 2 targets for no catches, it's hard for me to see him as part of the Klein's plan. It really, really is. And that's not to slander the kid. It's just from experience, I kind of had an anticipation of what A&M was getting there and how it might go. Maybe I'm wrong, but early on, I'm not. Think putting the passing offense and these guys on film opens up. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big part of Klein and the way that he attacked early on with the UTSA and the Utah State games. I think he wanted to throw the football down the field to show people, hey, we can take these shots. Okay. And obviously you want to hit them. You know what I mean? You want to put it on film that you can hit a deep ball because, yeah, in the back of your mind, A&M, speedy, fast wide receivers. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of throw to run. That's the way that I would call games in the modern football era. And as a guy who, our team can't hit any damn pass, I'm envious that y'all are basically doing what you want on offense right now. Let's just call it how it is. Yeah, Terry Bussey is fast on TV. I don't think he's a blazer. Some guys move faster than they look on TV. Some guys look like they're moving faster than they actually are. Terry is really damn fast, and he's going to run away from some guys. And again, I don't think that was a hold on Theo. I really don't. Run game's going to come with time. That's another thing. Colin Klein doesn't want to take Marcel Reed and bash him to death, okay? You're not going to sit here and run Marcel Reed 10, 12, 15 times against Utah State, UTSA, even Notre Dame, in my opinion, because you need Marcel to stay healthy throughout the duration of the season. You're going to need Marcel Reed in October and in November, and you're going to need his legs, in my opinion. I don't think the ground game is going to be like perfect at any point. Le'Veon, we'll see. Hopefully the kid stays healthy and is continuing to do so. But Marcel, when you're real offense, the full, you're unlocking different levels. You've shown that Marcel can use his legs last year. You showed the power run game last year. You showed the ability to run the read option stuff. All right, so you're running the different levels now. When does it all get tied together? There's going to be games where we see Marcel taking shots and running the ball 7, 8 to 10 times. And you want to do those in your bigger games, in my opinion, more in your conference, obviously your bigger conference games. So my guy, Matt Ralston, who I've known for 20 years, longer, I'm still not super big on Holman Wiggins. Time will tell. Again, these are transfer portal guys. These are guys who Mario Craver, again, I'm going to sit there and tell you, I said he was going to be the biggest addition. I thought he was fully developed. All right. I love Mario Craver. And so time will tell on that, Matt. I might be wrong. I didn't love what Holman Wiggins did at Alabama as far as a development standpoint. But hey, you got a big selling point in recruiting right now. Hey, I got the number 1 receiver in the SEC, another top 5 receiver in the SEC. Big selling point for Holman. Recruiting is already his thing. So, I mean, whether I love Holman Wiggins or not, it's going to be irrelevant because he's going to continue to get guys now. It's very easy to sell this offense. My guy, Austin, we are talking Ags for a little while. This one had to be personal. You know what I mean? Like I picked Notre Dame. Sorry, I picked A&M to beat Notre Dame. I'm high on Mike Elko, and I've been saying so. There's somebody in this chat right now that didn't want to hire Mike Elko, was screaming that you shouldn't hire Mike Elko. So I'm here to brag a little bit. That's what we're doing. And then also continuing to, drive a wedge between me and a few Texas fans that already get pissed that I talk about the Aggies a lot. But again, A&M football matters to Texas. It is what it is. Pretty crazy that A&M had a coordinator that only drinks milks and had his first kiss on this. All right, I should have read that one before putting it up there, but it is funny, ABR is the fastest straight line. I kind of agree with you there. I don't think that's what was my fear coming into this. After last November was like, man, A&M's probably going to trot out Terry Bussey as their most I'd say feared skill set guy, and that's just not the case. You've definitely got multiple cats in there that can move, and so it's only 3 weeks in. I'm curious to see how Klein continues to incorporate different guys into the offense because it is a longer season than ever, and you gotta have bodies. Just a man locking in. Tristan Keys. Hey, there you go. That's the name. No, we haven't talked to any about the return game, man. But yeah, you definitely have, a weapon. And I don't know if you were in here, Austin, but that was not a penalty. I don't care what anyone says. That was not a holding. I think it was a phantom hold. But yeah, you do, blocking seemed to be really, really good. Special teams can be a really big part of things, man. And, obviously, Tyler White's going to be fine in the kicking department or the punting department. Kicking seemed to be good. Special teams, you start looking at the different phases of football, and A&M is so very significantly improved from a year ago. You just you have to call it how it is. As of today, what would my prediction be for the A&M Texas game? So here's the thing, and I'll go ahead and do this for you, but I mean, I could look like an idiot. I expect Texas to be significantly better, obviously, 2 months from now, when Texas 2.5, when Texas and Texas A&M duel at DKR. I think Texas has more depth amongst the defensive side of the football. That's one concern I have for A&M is how deep are they across the board. I like where you're at on the defensive line for the most part. But then again, I have depth questions pretty much everywhere else after that. But none of that matters if you stay healthy, you handle business, you get your guys some rest. If I had to make a prediction right now that's the tough part because I have a vision in my head of what Sarkisian needs to do on offense. And I can't see too many other ways that Texas and the offense work unless he goes specifically to this. If he takes this route, as I assume he will, he is a fantastic coach or offensive coach. I'm always going to take Texas at home against DKR after a full season with this defense. Against the Aggies. Do I feel as confident before now as I did coming into the season? Absolutely not. I would have almost promised with my life that A&M was not coming in to DKR and winning that football game. So talk about like a 99.9% confidence, and I'm much more about 70-30 and about Steve Sarkisian dialing in to win that big game. But look at this. This is something that you guys get freaking Samford the week before that game. All right. If I'm Mike Elko, if I'm Colin Klein, we ain't repping Samford. Not one single day. Texas is over here prepping for Arkansas. We're studying Texas. We're treating it like a 2-week game, and we're treating Samford as a practice in between. So I'm not near as confident as I was. Of course, I'm going to sit here and continue to pick Texas until I can. If Texas looks like this after 5 games, ask me that question again, and you'll get a different answer. I promise you that. But right now, it's still being early enough. I'm still sipping on that burnt orange Kool-Aid, my guy. If Stroh is the starting left guard in that game, we'll have a whole other conversation. Sorry, Mom, if you heard the cuss word, I apologize. Got in trouble last night. Texas offense and A&M defense, the epitome of stoppable force and immovable object at this current moment. Yeah, man, we make lots of jokes. Remember when Texas came to the SEC and we were like, oh, if we could take our offensive line and their defensive line and just blend it all together. Yeah, it'd be a fun year to do that. But again, I just want to see if we can figure our shit out on offense, man, because my God. Yeah, I agree. Let Arch be Arch. But like, here we're here talking about the Aggies. I'll get off the horns. All right. This is the thing. If anybody has not seen the tweet yet, earlier today I tweeted out and said that if Texas loses to Texas A&M at Darrell K. Royal Stadium in November, the following Monday I will be on UT's campus from 8 to 5, walking around dressed as a yell leader. So yeah, I do have confidence that by then Texas figures it out, because I think that if Sark does go to what I think he makes our offense about, what he centers everything around, which is Arch Manning in the gun option game, then I feel really confident. So I've already had overalls volunteered to me for this wager. So if it came down to it, this would not be something that wouldn't be followed through on. For y'all that do not know me, I have a tattoo on my thigh because of a college football bet, and also ran butt naked on a beach and had to post it on social media. So I'm not scared. All right, we're gonna get it done. All right, A&M wins the game. It's gonna hurt a little bit more. That's all it is. I definitely think 14-13 is a little too low scoring in that game. But again, Texas has a really good defense. Don't think things will be easy for A&M in that one. Don't think things will be easy for our offense, because we haven't made the most routine, the simplest of things look easy. Call it like it is. How am I feeling about A&M at LSU? So before the year, Matt, man, I said A&M wins at Death Valley. That was a prediction that I was going to stand on. I was going to feel good about. In this moment, man, I don't know, because that LSU defense they're ferocious, and so I think that, again, I'm not really super high on Chris Ash. That it's not taking anything away from Texas A&M. You know me, I'm not trying to do that. I think Blake Baker is a whole different world of a problem. Death Valley, Notre Dame's hard place to play. Death Valley, obviously, a little bit different. If I had to pick a side right now, I would probably take LSU. I think Nussmeier in the offense is definitely a concern. I don't really think they're almost playing a little too careful. I don't think they want Nuss to get them into trouble, because they know that they have a really good defense. So in that game, I can promise you one thing, and that is Colin Klein will have the handcuffs off of Marcel Reed. He will let him attack. He will let him play his game. Does LSU do the same with Garrett Nussmeier and the Andersons and Barry and Brown and all the different receivers that they have? All the speed and everything you're not aggressive on offense. LSU is playing in a box. They're not being very aggressive. How do you have 5 interceptions at home and walk away in a game with a 10-point win? Pretty crazy to think about. But right now, give me, right now I'd have LSU by a hair. But a couple weeks down the line, if I haven't seen more from the LSU similar to Texas, predictions could change really fast. Rumor has it that Miss Avery will be making a bet as well. The streets are saying. Yeah, we all know what happens when the streets start saying things. We'll see what Miss Avery comes up with. But either way, I think that whatever goes down on that Monday following Texas and Texas A&M, I think Avery and I might, one of us or the other will be holding the camera and having some fun with the other. All right, we got more here. Hey, appreciate the comments, guys. Y'all are killing it. Go like the video if you haven't done so. If you're on Twitter, get your butt over to YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Then you go back to Twitter and watch. I don't care at all. But I will say this. This is the very last episode of Ghost and Friends. Kind of depressing. This will be the very last episode of Ghost and Friends. Tomorrow we will be announcing a rebrand. Everything will look a little different. Nothing will change as far as who our guests are or who is currently involved with us. So definitely be on the lookout for that. If you see a new logo tomorrow, and a new name, hey, it's still us. All right, we're just switching things around a little bit, trying to draw some more eyes. But again, so go like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't done some. Jesus, what are we posting on here? I am so sorry. LSU's offense does look horrific. They really do. Go to the game. I would go to every game if I were y'all. I genuinely love Mike Elko. I think he's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be an elite environment, and you're most likely going to be watching 2 top 10s play. Or 2 top 10 team play. So I don't blame you, Caden, for having that one as a loss for the Aggies. Don't really blame you at all. It's going to be tough. You haven't won there in so very, very long. How do I feel about the matchup with Florida? So Texas, Florida. Man, what do you even say? DJ stinks. Arch has been stinky. It's a matter of how broken are the Gators? Do they lose again to Miami? And then they head into that bye week 1-3 with fans, media, and maybe even players demanding a coaching change. What happens then? Does Texas? Do you even see Billy Napier in that scenario? It's quite possible that they don't. Florida may want to get that search started early, but then again, they may want to protect their roster. I don't know. It's gonna be a tough spot. I like Texas again because I think that in the second half, I saw the plan, the vision, the gun option scheme. If Texas comes out in that, I trust Sark to really be creative in that plan, in that one game, treating it as a very big must-win. To me, it's our season. You lose that game, getting into the college football playoff becomes so very difficult because you still have some tough ones: Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, at Georgia, Texas A&M. You can't take things for granted. Florida has a good defense. I love their front seven. They have a couple NFL players in their secondary, so they are going to make it hard. I would bet the under, but I still personally would bet Texas to win because that's going to be, it's a bit of a prove-it moment. Like, hey, are the last couple of years fluky? Is Arch ever going to improve? There's going to be several things in that moment for Texas to either stand on or that people will pile on them about. You know what I mean? So right now, dude, I mean, again, South Carolina, good defense in certain spots, didn't return a lot. They don't have the defense that Texas does. They damn sure don't have the front seven. They don't have the secondary. But again, if we play offense as bad as we does, we can lose to anybody in the conference. So it is what it is. Well, no, Lane. It's only the last show because we're rebranding. So you can come back tomorrow, man. We'll all still be here. We'll talk about the eggs next week too. It might just be different characters. Tomorrow night we have Avery with her guests. I will not ruin who she has coming on, but we'll be talking. You'll have your all Aggie show tomorrow. It won't be a guy with Longhorn pictures on the background talking about the Aggs. This is the worst Sam team in a long time. Texas could score 50 and not even play really, really good. Sam is bad, man. I don't know if you watched them early in the year, but I watched every second of that UNLV game, and I was like, wow, this Sam team does not have the same fight that they once did. More worried about the Miss State or Auburn matchup for A&M? Definitely the Auburn matchup, man, because with those receivers, I definitely – their dogs. Jackson has a big arm. It's just one of those things where they've run the football pretty dang well as too. I like Jeff Libby's system. But give me Mike Elko in that matchup. I don't think that they have the personnel, to really challenge A&M for 4 quarters. And I really think that A&M is going to blow the doors off of that Mississippi State defense. I'm really curious to see Auburn and Oklahoma this week. That's 2 teams that really haven't played anybody yet. Sorry, Auburn. Baylor's a good win, but it is what it is. But yeah, for me, this is big time. More worried about Auburn than I am Mississippi State for you guys. So let me say this, and this is a big part of what I wanted to talk about tonight, but I'll get to these other questions in just a moment. But the thing that I hate most about this is the recruiting aspect. The fact that Mike Elko can hang his hat on a top 10 win. All right. The fact that Mike Elko can sell offense as a defensive head coach. He can sell playmaking wide receivers, something that A&M, has struggled with at times. Now, A&M has never, since moving to the SEC, A&M has never struggled to garner momentum, right? Johnny Manziel, Mike Evans, Kevin Selman, Cliff Kingsbury, they made A&M football popular. They made A&M football fun. They increased the brand along with the move to the SEC. It is a perfect storm if you're an Aggie. But we know how that ended, right? We all know what transpired, what happened with Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray and the defense and the offensive line and the glow-in-the-dark uniforms. We know what happened, right? Well, then you get Jimbo Fisher in here. Plays Clemson to the wire in his second game as an Aggie. Obviously did some really big things. Won an Orange Bowl, A&M's biggest bowl win. And so such a very long time. I'm sorry, but the 2012 Cotton Bowl win, it wasn't, considered what it is now. So A&M's never had an issue to gain momentum. Okay. Not since moving to the SEC. you can almost always just feel it. You can feel the hype, and you're like, man, if A&M gets one or two more wins, it's like this is going to hurt on my side. It's not going to feel good because you know that their brand does have power. But it has big power. A&M is so much cooler than it was when I was growing up and I was in high school. Facilities are top 5% in the country. Alumni support probably top 1%. You know what I mean? People do want to play there. All right. Do I like the Aggies? Do I love the Aggies and what they're all about? I respect it. But just because I would never go play there, that doesn't mean that these other kids don't think it's cool and that they wouldn't want to do it. Just because A&M hasn't won a title since 1939 doesn't mean that Mike Elko can't sell the future to some of these guys. And that does concern me because he is a good recruiter and he has hired a very good recruiting staff. And so that to me is, just as big as winning the actual game itself, is saying, hey, we can sell the future. We can sell what's going on. But now what has to happen if you're the Aggie? And I'm going to get to all these questions, I promise. What has to happen if you're an Aggie? You have to follow through. All right. We used to call it fomentum. Every time that y'all would get all hyped up and revved up, we'd call it fomentum because we didn't think it was real. Just every single time. I'm just talking about fomentum, and I'm getting called a fraud over here. Same guy that gets on me every week for picking you guys. All right. Y'all get on John. Yeah, I got my YouTube bags on your butt, buddy. But no, can they sustain it? Okay, can they go to LSU and be competitive? Can they win the games that they should win at home? Could they go off, and even if they went 10-2, that to me that's obviously where you want to be. It doesn't have to be an undefeated season or an 11-1 type season. Making the playoffs this year, in my opinion, would have A&M ahead of schedule because I think that they would lose. Coming into the season, I had 9-3 being a fringe playoff team. But again, can they capitalize on the momentum? Can they capitalize on what just happened in South Bend, Indiana? Because there's a lot of people around the country that saw it, including a lot of high school kids. And A&M, again, doesn't have an issue recruiting. So I think they will because, again, I'm high on Mike Elko. His defense isn't where he wants it to be. But I think the fact that he's such a good game caller, it does make up for that to an extent. So I don't know exactly what the defense looks like at season's end. Health is going to be a big part of it. But I think overall as a culture, that defense is competing in the way that Mike Elko wants them to compete. And if you have Marcel Reed continuing to make the strides he's making, that offensive line staying healthy, those playmaking wide receivers ain't going anywhere. So it's going to be a tough out for a lot of people that line up across from you guys. Let's get back up here. If Sark would have paid Singleton, we needed a wide receiver in the portal. Let's call it what it is. Let's see here. Given what you've seen so far with what offensive identity are you pairing with our D for conference play? Is this Texas or Texas A&M lane? Let me know and I'll answer that one. Rolly, I think we're doing overalls if it does happen. I feel like overalls would be probably not as bad for me, so we'll probably do that. How worried should we be that K-State is going to be bad enough to still call it from us? You should be worried. You should absolutely be worried. 110%. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Colin Klein's a really good coach, and he is Kansas State lore. So definitely keep that in the back of your minds. Have I heard anything directly to that? Not this year. But if I ever did, I of course would relay the information. I just know how college football works, and Colin Klein is a guy that was there. Colin Klein's a guy that did a lot of big things at Kansas State. You see him bounce down the road, and you see Coach Kleiman and the Cats suffer in a way that no one saw coming. I told people in my prediction show I was not buying Kansas State this year in the Big 12, but I didn't see this. Good gracious. Let's see here, going to another comment. Crazy part of recruiting is we don't go head to head too much. Well, that's the thing now, man. It's we're both gone national, you know what I mean? And we're both seeking program fits. We need to find the right guys. And so, yeah, we will always have the head to head in-state battles for the top guys. But shoot, man, half the time lately, half the guys don't like Texas, half of them don't like A&M. And you're like you said, you're battling an out-of-state school. You continue to have programs that are going to dip into our state, forever. Texas A&M have dipped much more into the Southeast. Texas big time in Georgia. Texas big time in Florida. Aggies the same. So yeah, you will continue to see that, which does put a little less importance on head-to-head recruiting here in the state of Texas. But next cycle, the in-state class is far superior to what we have this year. Next cycle is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be war for a couple of these guys. So We'll see how it works out, man. I definitely think that with the NIL, you're going to be able to hold on to a few recruits more so maybe than in the past as terms of like the flip stuff. But it would be hard pressed to see A&M not flipping a couple guys. They will. I promise they will if the momentum keeps up the way that it has been so far for them. I don't. For you guys, I appreciate y'all spending your time here and being in this this Texas space, I guess you could say. But I consider myself someone that covers everyone. But I mean, I'm not rooting for you. I love you, but I'm not rooting for you whatsoever. I'm glad that you're here. I hope that we continue to have these conversations. But my goodness, man, like I lose sleep thinking about playing Oklahoma and A&M a little bit, not too much, just a little. But I do have to say this: last year in November, 17-7 Texas, and I think I was the only person in the world that had the actual footage live. But I filmed a few Longhorns dancing on the logo at Kyle Field, having a lot of fun, and I posted on Twitter. And there were some, your standard comments, people celebrating it, people saying it's absolutely disrespectful and rude, and, people screaming at Sark, why aren't he getting, well, let me just say this. When college football is going your way and the kids are being kids, let's let them have some fun. I mean, can we talk about that, dude, for 1 second? Is that Tristan Jernigan? Like, let's go back to the hands. Where did he put the hands up? Oh, we just watch it. One more time. Oh my gosh, man, that is absolutely hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, just let the kids be kids. If they're doing too much, the coaches are gonna handle it. All right. But that is 10 out of 10 content right there. Tristan Jernigan gained a fan for life from a guy who has the Longhorn literally tattooed on it just above his heart. That was iconic. It's the leprechaun stance. I mean, that was spot on. That is definitely a man that has got many reps in and was prepared for the moment. So obviously, it looked like a really fun time in South Bend, Indiana on Saturday for you Aggies that were there. I know there were a few of you. Real cool, man. Any pictures, anything you got? I'm all about college football environments. I'm all about those type of scenes. Yes, I love Texas, but no, I do not care who's playing. I think college football is a very beautiful sport and deserves to be celebrated just so loudly. And so you have very cool environments and atmospheres all across the country. And I mean, that looked like one of the more elite ones we've seen in a couple of years. So overall, do I think A&M is a contender in the SEC? You know what? I do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll say that. I think the defense will continue to struggle a little bit, but I think that you're getting Auburn at a really good time considering they're coming off a road trip to Oklahoma. You win that game. What about Missouri later in the year? Is Missouri real? You go there on the road. I don't really know. And by the end of the year, Drink normally has his teams playing better football, rolling pretty good, but again, the schedule's just not crazy. And so any real teams with a pulse, they've been taking licks from. A&M, in my opinion, I had them at 9-3, and that coming into the year was with a loss to Notre Dame and a win at LSU. Right now, as Matt brought up earlier, I'm kind of flip-flopped in my head. Right now, obviously, I picked the win at Notre Dame, and right now, in this moment, I would pick a close loss to LSU. So I guess I am sticking at 9-3 for the moment. Makes you a fringe playoff team. Coming into the season, for full transparency, I had you losing to Notre Dame. I had you losing to Texas. I had you losing to. Well, I had you at 9-3. So I had you losing to either Florida or Auburn. That's what it was. I don't think you're losing to Florida anymore because personally, I think that they might tap out down the line. Could be wrong. They might make me eat my words here in a couple of weeks. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that 10-2 or better isn't on the table for A&M because I genuinely believe that it is. You've seen so many things from other teams that make you kind of scratch your head. Tennessee has question marks on the defensive side of the football. I think Georgia is obviously in the driver's seat to win the conference because I think when Gunner they need to bring Gunner out and let him throw it around. He looked really good in doing so. And I have Nate Frazier being the best back in the Big 12. Now again, Alabama, that's a curious one to me. a team that really, really laid an egg there early in the year. But man, are they playing physical right now, dude? I mean, it's just Wisconsin, but they were murdering Badgers out there. It was tough to watch. Really not a fun game. But anyway, so there's some other teams that again, you still have question marks, but man, A&M's offense right now looks really, really good. Marcel does not need, if he doesn't turn the football over and put that defense against, behind the 8 ball, field position, short field type stuff, if he continues his growth, everybody else in the conference has questions. You know what I mean? So why can't A&M make a run? And again, the backbone of that opinion, it comes from Mike. I do have a good bit of respect and like for Mike Elko, and I do think that his defense, the way that it suffered down the stretch last year, you don't see that again. I really don't think so. Time will tell. Appreciate you, Aggies, for being here, man. It means a lot. I need to get out of here, but if y'all have any other questions, I'm happy to get to them. Just drop them in the comments real quick. If not, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I can't stand your football team, but I do love you guys and really appreciate you spending some time with me. Got to call it how it is, though, man, and we will continue to do so for the Texas fans that are mad at me for it. Hey, it's going to be like that sometimes, man. I think you'd respect me less if I just sat there and told you everybody else sucked and that Texas was awesome, because right now that quite clearly is not the case. And I think we have enough people doing that anyways. So it is what it is. Have a great night, Aggies. We'll talk soon. Have a good